Let's welcome in Tom Murphy to the conversation this morning. Tom, I was kind of waiting on Cade Cunningham to go off, and we saw him do exactly that. Scores 11 of his team's last 17 points down the stretch, including the last shot he hit over Devo Davis and the game-sealing free throws down the stretch. What did you think about his performance, particularly in the second half of that basketball game?
Yeah, it was a good one. I am instinctively reluctant to crown some guy. Oh yeah, he's a early pick in the draft. I kind of get even resentful, like he's a freshman. But man, watching that kid play, he got off his own shot. His ball handling skills were good. Seemed like he plays with a good temperament.
Very smooth.
He is very smooth. When it came down to it, he just got his shot off. But he also missed the one during when a tie game. And if Arkansas can just get the rebound, then, maybe there was a difficult shot, too. And he missed it. But if they get the rebound, maybe Arkansas scores on the other end, and then he took the shot that, maybe he shouldn't have taken. But instead, the story is that he led them to the comeback, and it was his game-winning shot that gave them the lead for good. And he's a very quality player. And, yep, I can see him. He's got NBA-level skills.
Tommy, you mentioned the offensive rebound. Arkansas hasn't been out-rebounded much this season, but in this game they were by, I think it was 39-33 was the totals. And it was really the offensive rebounds they were giving up to Boone, who I think had 6. You could tell Eric Musselman was really irritated by that. How big of a factor were those offensive rebounding and get out-rebounded in this basketball game?
Right. When we delegate what we're going to write, Bob does the big picture story for what the game story is going to be. So he wrote about the Cunningham deal. To me, I thought the rebounding differential, even though it was only 6 or 7, just the when they happened and how they happened. That one possession, they got 3 shots at it before Cunningham put them in the lead for good. And it's just frustrating because one of those was a long rebound, and they just got to it. They did seem to be the more quicker to the ball team, and Arkansas needs a few more guys whose motor runs like Devo Davis, who is really good at tracking down those kind of balls. But it was a tight game. Arkansas had its chances. When they went up 5, I allowed myself to think, hey, they might could win this game, but they didn't do a whole lot beyond that. They got a great look from 3-point range for Connor Vanover in the closing seconds that would have given them a 1-point lead had it gone down. Then the pressure really swings over to Oklahoma State. But, yeah, I think you're right. The offensive rebounding, Boone just killed him. I mean, he just killed him. He was just quicker getting to the ball on so many of those rebounds.
And had 6 offensive boards in the ball game. Tom, I thought Saturday was another reminder of just how important Justin Smith is to this basketball team. 18 points, 7 rebounds in the ball game, 9 of 14 from the floor. I don't know if it was quietly, but just throughout his 37 minutes, reminded you once again why this guy's got to remain healthy and be a part of what you're doing to give your team a chance to win.
Oh yeah, man, he had a really solid game, and it is more of a kind of a quiet thing, and he's not. When you look at his body type, it's 6'7". He's just solid. He's just solid, and he got his own shots off, and he's been having a few blocked lately, and I think he might have gotten one or a couple blocked in this game, but he was a lot more crafty at getting himself open shots, and he finds a way to get right there to the glass a lot too. But we were concerned about his availability. If y'all remember, after last week, he looked like he wasn't happy with a play and might have hurt himself, but he's key, and I heard y'all talking about Jalen Williams. When you have that knee-to-knee stuff, man, sometimes that'll slow you down for a while. So hopefully they can get him back in the fold this week.
Yeah. All right, so 9 SEC games left in the regular season, 2 at home this week before 2 on the road next week. This really feels like a week you got to go 2-0 with Mississippi State and A&M. How important is this week to set the tone for what happens the rest of the way?
Yeah, if you can do it, then you're 3 games above 500 in league play, and then you start. You can improve yourself a seed line or 2 if you can win them both. Mississippi State, to me, I am totally baffled at how their season has gone. There have been moments I've seen that team and thought, that they're right outside the top cut in the SEC. And then you see them, and they lose at home to Ole Miss. Now, I understand that's an emotional game, but then you see what Ole Miss has done since then. They lost at Arkansas, they lost at Georgia, and it looked like a high-quality team that just had some flaws. So, I don't know. I think if they shoot the three, then they can give Arkansas some trouble. They've had the upper hand in this series in recent years, so you'd like to think Arkansas really gets up to play these guys. But, yeah, it's 2 home games against teams below you in the standings. You need to go, or tied with you, and you need to go win those games.
Tom, I want to change the conversation to football. Have you gotten a chance to see that Nick Saban recruiting pitch video?
Mm-mm.
So I don't know if a recruit or if his family member put it out, but I thought it was really, really kind of enlightening on what he does when he talks to these guys that are thinking about coming to Alabama. Tommy and I were discussing this last segment before you came on. What do you think Sam Pittman's biggest tool is when it comes to recruiting kids to Arkansas right now?
Well, you can tout playing time for them. You can tout that he's got a track record now on an offensive line standpoint of getting guys into the NFL, and not only that, but first-round draft picks. And also, I think you make sure they talk to the current roster. You'd have all kind of testimonials from Jalen Catalons and so on and so forth down the roster, Grant Morgan's, guys who are coming back for another year, about the atmosphere that Sam Pittman fosters in his program.
Mm-hmm.
That is, the coaches respect and like each other. They talk things through. And, hey, I'll go back to when Sam was first hired. His deal was, I'm going to listen. You know, guys, we're going to talk to players. And so what he had clearly seen in all his years as a top-level assistant was when programs run into problems, the coaches aren't listening. The coaches are doing their own thing and not understanding the problems that boil up within a program. And so he said, I'm going to listen. And every interview that we've done since Sam Pittman's been hired, players like that. Players like to play for him. And that can get you a few miles. That can win you a recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And they have got to get difference makers at pass rushers. They got to continue to stock both lines and get some high-quality speed in the program. And you could start rising up in the SEC. And they showed that last year.
Tom, I always like talking football, regardless if it's in football season or in February 1st. And I saw you wrote a piece ranking the Razorbacks' 2021 football games by difficulty. And I was a little surprised that you had Texas in where they were at number 6. I know that Sark's going to be in his first year there, but just kind of going through that, why did you rank the teams really kind of in the top 5, top 6 in the way you did?
Right. Well, let me tell you, I struggled. That's the one part I struggle with, and you could have guessed the team.
Mm-hmm.
It was LSU, Auburn, Texas, and to me, Missouri. Those 4, once you get past Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, I think that segment that I just mentioned, those teams, was really difficult to sort out. Auburn, you look at first-year coaches come into Auburn, the talent's there. It's just that they've worn out their welcome or for some reason or other, there's been a change, but the talent is there. Gus Malzahn did it in 2013 with a far underperforming 2012 team, and he took them to the national championship game. So Brian Harsin is going to inherit some great talent and a quarterback that obviously was a highly rated prospect to begin with, who's a junior, who should be better next year. LSU, you've got to think they're going to rebound. They always recruit well. So sorting out those two teams, Texas lost a ton of talent, you guys. Sam Ehlinger and other great talent on offense and defense. And I think he's going to do a fine job there. But this first season, I thought about having them higher, up there maybe 4th. But I talked to a few folks, and I just felt like LSU, they won the national championship 2 years ago. So I put them up there, and And so you thought I'd put Texas a little too low, huh?
Just first glance. Now you've done a much deeper dive than I have, but just first glance, I saw them at 6, and it made me think. Not that's right or wrong. It just made me think a little bit.
Well, it just goes to show you the depth of Arkansas' schedule. I mean, that's why it's going to be one of the top in the country. You've got to navigate through all those SEC teams, and including Georgia. And I do believe Texas is going to be a preseason top 25 team. I would think y'all do too. But, maybe Auburn won't, but that's just the way I said it, and it could be wrong. But to think about that, I've got Missouri and Ole Miss and Mississippi State behind Texas, and who knows what those teams are going to do this coming season.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting, now that we have a schedule, everybody can start kind of formulating their way too early number in their head. I think it'll be interesting as we move to spring practice to see, Tom, what expectations are coming out of spring practice, and what people think now, whether it's 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins, less than that. Does their opinion change after we see a little bit of spring practice?
Exactly. You got to feel like KJ Jefferson and Malik Hornsby are going to make each other better and turn that quarterback position into a real weapon. I like the way Felipe ran this year, but I think they can be even better at running with a running quarterback. You just got to keep him healthy. That Alabama injury was a little bit, concerning on KJ, but and they've got to be able to get the ball with their skill talent and get fast guys the ball. And late in the year, TJ Hammond started playing more and playing better, and get quality guys going behind Traylon Smith at running back. Find a way to get Trey Knox more productive and part of the deal. They've got a great playmaker in Traylon Burks. Keep getting him the ball. Get the tight ends more involved. I talked to Hunter Yurachek about this at some point during the winter. It's who shows up on a week-to-week basis. That's why Arkansas beat Mississippi State. They had a better game plan, and they won that road game. That's why they beat Ole Miss. They got 7 turnovers. They showed up that day. They could have beat Auburn. Same story. Who shows up, who produces that day. Could have beaten LSU, could have beaten Missouri. They could have blown the roof off this thing this year, y'all, in terms of expectations. But if they don't show up for those very games next year, you could fall right back, to a 3 or 4 win team. So, but I do think they stand a better chance with their preparation to rise up under Sam Pittman.
Tom, we appreciate your time as always. We'll talk. I know it'll be a few days after, but we'll talk about this Mississippi State game on Thursday, and we'll preview a little bit of the Texas A&M game as well.
Outstanding. Y'all have a good one.